Okay, so to kick things off, obviously tomorrow is the release of the white paper, so happy white paper eve. Most people, oh, actually, I forgot to put this in here. So you used to be able to, should have double checked this, but on your Mac, like they had the white paper kind of embedded in your computer. So I need to check if it's still there because some people it's not there anymore. My computer has it, but I think the new ones don't. Anyways, it's pretty cool. And kind of my first fun fact of today, because there will be sort of, I think, a lot of those throughout, is the word network is mentioned 21 times in the white paper. And so I think that really speaks to just the broader importance of community and the power of peer-to-peer. So diving in, I want to start with a video about like really why Bitcoin matters in this context. It's for human rights. It was produced by the Human Rights Foundation, but this video will introduce some of the problems that we will go through the white paper, like really contextualizing it all. So start with this, and let me make sure that you connected the speaker. I did. Okay.
Why Bitcoin matters for human rights. 2 minutes. Today, cash is disappearing, whether it's in the United Kingdom or the United States, Sweden, South Korea, a smaller and smaller amount of our daily transactions are done with cash. We have to think about the implications of a cashless society where all money is digitally centralized. We have to think about what happens when we lose the financial privacy afforded to us by paper money. We have to think about the new powers that states and corporations gain as we trade our privacy and freedom for comfort and convenience. Because what you buy and sell says more about you than your words. Consider, when you make a transaction with a paper bill, the merchant doesn't know your name, your email address, your phone number, or really anything about you. By contrast, when you make a transaction with a phone or a wearable or a swipe or one day a chip, you reveal an enormous amount of information about yourself, which leads to control by corporations and governments, and censorship and surveillance, and gradually social engineering. This is why Bitcoin is so revolutionary, because it lays the groundwork for a peer-to-peer electronic cash system, where unlike today's legacy arrangement, where there's banks and software companies and payment processors in the middle of every single digital transaction that happens, instead, nobody's in the middle of you and the person you are paying. Their payment processing is done instead by a global competition. And this is why, in a world and in a future where we will have state money, we will have corporate money, Bitcoin is more like the people's money. It is a way out. It isn't an alternative. Now, less than 1% of us have used Bitcoin, perhaps 50 or 60 million out of the 7.5 billion on this earth. If we keep growing this, and if Bitcoin thrives, humans will have a money that can't be censored by authorities, that can't be devalued by governments, that can't be monopolized by corporations, that can't be easily mass surveilled, that can't be stopped by borders, and that can be accessed by anyone. And that's why Bitcoin.
Okay, so in the very first meeting of this year, we talked about, why should you care about Bitcoin? Why does it matter to you? And that's because you matter. And Bitcoin is a tool to protect you and your participation in the future. And so today, a lot of people talk about the white paper in that it solved the problem of basically decentralizing transactions, so transacting without a trusted intermediary in the middle. And it brings up the problem of double spending. But I think it's these reasons, these 6 reasons on the screen here about really why you should care that that problem has been solved as well. So that's why we started with this video.
What?
And then a lot of people might also say, okay, Bitcoin was the first blockchain, but there were these issues. There's other better ones that came along. But what often isn't shown is that there's actually 40 years of history prior to Bitcoin, different technologies and different projects that then kind of all came together and like the puzzle that we see as Bitcoin today. And so this prehistory is really important and relevant as well. And, Bitcoin is not just some passing fad that some other better iteration can come upon and improve. And in this timeline here in 1993, a really important work called the Cypherpunks Manifesto came out, and it was written by Eric Hughes. And it was really about privacy And I just pulled out some important quotes from it. I mean, I think if you have time, I did link it. It's not very long, it's very worthwhile to read. But I just want to read some of this here because it just further helps to contextualize why Bitcoin solving this. It's called the Byzantine generals problem is the formal game theory problem mattered. And so one of the first is privacy is necessary for an open society in the electronic age. Privacy is not secrecy. Privacy is the power to selectively reveal oneself to the world. Therefore, privacy in an open society requires anonymous transaction systems, what Bitcoin gave us. Until now, cash has been the primary such system. And then further, there's goes a little bit deeper, goes on to say, we cannot expect governments or any large organization to grant us privacy. We have to defend it. And the technologies of today, where we have encryption, really allows us to defend privacy, whereas previously we hadn't been able to. So this is just further context for you. And now, kind of break down three different I'm presenting them a little bit separate, but they are kind of interlinked of the white paper. So, number one, Bitcoin solved the ability to decentralize financial transactions without trust. So Satoshi wrote this screenshot that you're seeing on February 15th, 2009. So obviously this is after the release of the Bitcoin white paper. Number two, the first block, the Genesis block, contained this message, the Times, which is in reference to the newspaper, and then the date, January 3rd, 2009, and then what the headline was, which was Chancellor on Brink of Second Bailout for Banks. And I actually put in this block, which we can go up and look on mempool.space and see it. So here we go, the very first block. And then you can see right here, this message inscribed in it. And so this it also holds a lot of meaning because it's really a warning of the perils of fractional reserve banking and kind of an allusion to the failings of the old financial system where banks can just get bailed out. And it's, the normal average person who gets really harmed by that. So that's kind of number two. And then number three, now we're actually getting to the white paper itself. And in the abstract and the introduction, as is on our cake as well, I just highlighted these two boxes. We propose a solution to the double spending problem using a peer-to-peer network. And then in the second box over here, what is needed is an electronic payment system based on cryptographic proof instead of trust, allowing any two willing parties to transact directly with each other without the need for a trusted third party. And so I really didn't, I mean, you can hear double spending and think you know what that means, but I needed an analogy to fully grasp it. So in the digital realm, information is really easy to copy. Like think about how you just have a file on your computer and you can just copy it, or like if you make a copy of a Google Doc and there's basically no cost to do it. Um, we so that problem just is inherent in the digital environment. And with cash, though, so bringing it back just to reality, if I give like Sal $1, well, then Sal has that dollar. I can only spend it once because there's actually some cost to it. There's a physical manifestation of it. But up in the digital, how, without trust of anyone knowing what you've done, do you ensure that you haven't spent that money twice? And so this is the problem that Bitcoin came in and helped us and allowed us a way that we would not double spend and that we could do it without any trusted intermediaries. And we're going to go into that a little bit. So I think often we hear obviously blockchain, but in the interest of history, I would also propose a club challenge of time chain, not blockchain, because in this is also a great article, which we're going to talk about Bitcoin is time. But Satoshi actually never referenced to a blockchain. They only referenced to the time chain. And we'll speak about this, but Bitcoin is linked to energy, but it's also linked to time, which is incredibly important. So just kind of placing that in your mind. So diving in here, this is from that Bitcoin is time. piece. And here we can see in this paper, we propose a solution to the double spending problem using a peer-to-peer distributed timestamp because we had to have some chronological method of when the money was being spent. Just like if, again, if I give Sal $1, well then, we know that exchange has taken place, but once everything's in the digital realm, we have to know what order the transactions occurred and what the chronological order was. And so Bitcoin allows us to do that through its linkage with time. So this is a bit what we just went on, but I put in a couple of more information here. And so this is a very cool graphic, which I imagine Wicked will probably release an updated one tomorrow when we hit 16 years. But this is kind of the history of, at this time, the past 15 years of Bitcoin. And if you go through, it's put in like all different events. So it's really interesting if you have some time to take a look at that. And I'll update it when I imagine there will be a new one, probably tomorrow. So, often I think people come in and it's like, oh, Bitcoin's only for econ majors or computer science or something technical. But really, it is just, I think it's the most interdisciplinary subject out there that there is. Like, looking in the room right now, I don't think we have, actually, are you CS? Yeah, okay, one CS major in this whole room. So it's a lot more encompassing. And really, what it's teaching you is just curiosity, critical thinking, kind of being a high agency individual. Okay, this is my favorite part of all of this. And pay close attention because we will be playing trivia over the Lightning Network, thanks to D++. And so these questions will come from in here. So, what do 0, 1, 2, and 6, those numbers, have in common? The answer is Bitcoin. And it's a little bit construed of a question. So, the first kind of iteration of this. So, I've talked about this in the past, but Executive Order 6102 was signed on April 5th, 1933, and it basically forbid any US citizen individual to hold gold. It required you to turn in all of your gold. I think it was maybe like $100 you could keep, but everything above that you had to turn over. Um, and you had less than a month to do it. And so this is basically like taking away your hard property, like you owning your money. And so at the price, you turned in your gold, and they would give you $20.67 per troy ounce. And then right after that, I think it was May 1st or afterwards, then one troy ounce went up to $35. So it devalued by like 40%. So just instantly, you lost purchasing power. So this is our first 6102. And then um, April 5th, 1975 is what is listed as Satoshi's birthday. So April 5th from when Executive Order 6102 was enacted. And then 1975 is when President Gerald Ford repealed Executive Order 6102. So now you could hold gold again. So I just think stuff like this is very interesting. Next, so we know there's only 21 million Bitcoin. There's actually slightly less, just a little bit less. And oops, I guess I messed. Oh, there we go. Here we see, Bitcoin's monetary policy is presented to us from the very beginning. There's 21 million. And over time, the subsidy is going to decrease. And I have later slides to talk about what is the subsidy, what does that really mean. And this is a very cool calendar called Time Chain Calendar, which shows you a lot of information. But I want to point us to right over here, the supply. So 19.77 million Bitcoin of the 21 million Bitcoin have already been mined. So that is, obviously like 97, or I think it's like 96% of all Bitcoin, and still like less than 1% of the population owns it. And then over here, it just tells you a lot of, like mining statistics. But this is a cool calendar if you ever are curious to look at. Okay, so going in, oh, and I should have pointed out, so 21 million, it's like 2, 1, and 6 zeros. Um, Next construction of them. So Bitcoin's mining difficulty, the difficulty adjustment is updated every 2016 blocks. So if we just look back to that mempool.space where it shows the blockchain, the time chain, every 2016 of those blocks, it goes through an update. And this update, I want to introduce an analogy to explain this. So, have any of you ever played the game Limbo? Like if you're at like a birthday party. And so when you begin the game, the bar is really high, like it's pretty easy to walk under it. And then as you know, you need to weed out the competition, it gets harder and the number lowers. So in the abstract, Bitcoin mining works fairly similar to this. So when there's not a lot of, so I should preface, you are looking for a number under a certain threshold. It's called a nonce. And most people describe Bitcoin as solving cryptographic hash puzzles, but really it's just looking for this number, and how easy or hard it is to find this number changes depending on the difficulty and how much competition there is. And so what the kind of protocol is built around is that on an average of every 10 minutes, there is a new block that is mined. And so to keep it on the average of every 10 minutes, you need to adjust the difficulty. So let's say blocks are coming in like every 12 minutes. Well, then that's too hard. That is more time than what we want. And let's say if it's every 8 minutes, that's too easy. We need to make it harder. And so the threshold of the number lowers or raises depending on that. Is that clear? Or could I explain that differently? Yes.
Just one question, like, what is the entity that's controlling that? Is it just coding or
It's
is
just
it
code. Yeah, just code. No entity kind of regulating any of that. And this is also really helpful when we think back again to Bitcoin being tied to like our two most scarce resources and assets, which is energy and time. And so Bitcoin being tied to energy alone is really insufficient because there could be more energy generation that comes about. Like actually, even in our world today, there's a lot of stranded energy just that is not being used. And that we see a lot of Bitcoin miners going after because they want the cheapest energy that they can find so that they can increase profits as much as possible. And so, you know, what is one thing in this world that no one can make more of no matter how hard you try? Yeah, time. And so, Bitcoin having energy plus time is really what allows it to be the ultimate money. And this is the argument that is presented in that Bitcoin is time article. I can't take credit for thinking of all of that myself, but it's really interesting if you want to read that. Yeah.
Want to add a little more color on why my work is unique compared to non-proof of work. So just like what makes proof of work so unique is I think that that can help structure this and say, hey, no,
Yeah.
the scarcity of energy. You can make
Yes. Well, actually, no, do you want to take that? Because I want to make sure, I'm thinking of one way to answer it, but how do you?
Sure. Well, I mean, if we go back to, so that's a great question. Whoever asked that, and I missed whoever asked that. But what makes this thankfully different Bitcoin, and obviously this is not me or Ella saying this is the market saying this and validating that. Because energy is there's scarcity to energy, and Bitcoin mining proof of work is distinctly positioned to capture, necessitate, and use that, transform that kinetic power, as Mr. Sater will say. There's just no second best to store your wealth, which the market is it's validating that, right? So think of the mining component and energy as being this like really hot cauldron of energy that's just being protected, and it's always going to be hot because as whether the little bar goes up or down on the screen, there's always going to be somebody that's going to mine it. Always. literally like kayfabe. Nobody is eyeing my million pounds.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like that's what makes this distinctly different. And once you remove the thermodynamic component of it, that conversion of energy, then that's just no longer Bitcoin. We
Mhm.
could call that anything else, but the market would obviously signal that as well.
Yes. And also to Sal, well, I really like your phrase, Sal, that you have that Bitcoin makes inefficient energy efficient. Um, yes, it's very clever. And there's also just in the world today, like very often, energy producers have to pay people to take energy because they just can't store it. Like if you think about energy, you okay, you have to it's not easily to just transport it. Like you really have to use it. And so there's so many people around the world that they are paying, like, please take this energy. This happened a lot in COVID, where like oil prices went negative. And so it just helps people with their balance sheet management just to be using it. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Okay, and then actually we sort of just talked about this, but just why Bitcoin has to be costly in time as well, not just energy. Okay, so going into the epochs. So, okay, let's break this down. There's 21 million Bitcoin, slightly less, but 21 million Bitcoin. And we know it will all be mined over a span of 131 years, from 2009 to 2140. And then what that equates into is that about every 210,000 blocks, there is what is called a halving. Bitcoin will have about 33 halvings. And so the point of the halving is to reduce how much new Bitcoin is coming into the supply. So when Bitcoin began, for those first 4 years, 50 Bitcoin, every time you mined a block, the block subsidy was 50 Bitcoin. Then in Epoch 2, it went to 25 Bitcoin per block. Then it halved again to 12.5, 6.25, and now we're at 3.125. And so what is really cool, I think, is that in whatever epoch you're in, so let's take the first one because it's really easy. In those first 4 years of Bitcoin, 50% of all Bitcoin was mined, and 50% of all Bitcoin remain to be mined. So, okay, I'll make it like a little bit harder now. Right now, the subsidy is 3.125. So, how much Bitcoin do you think will be mined in these 4 years from April 19th, 2024 to sometime in 2028? How much Bitcoin, of what percent of the total supply will be mined in these? Sorry? So last April 2024 to 2028, what percent of the total supply of the 21 million will be mined?
I know it's like a factor of 2, but I'm assuming it's gonna be like 3, maybe like 6%, 6.25%.
Close. I think, yeah, Ruby and Ben.
Is it 3.15?
So yeah, it's 3.125. So in the first 4 years of Bitcoin, the subsidy was 50 Bitcoin per block. And in those first 4 years, 50% of the 21 million was mined, and 50% remained to be mined at the end of those 4 years. So now today, the subsidy is 3.125. So 3.125% of the 21 million will be mined in these 4 years. After these 4 years, that is also how much will be remain to be mined. And this is how we've gotten to the point where like 97% of Bitcoin has already been mined. A little bit less because obviously 100 minus 3.125. So I just think that makes my brain happy to think about just how structured and orderly this is, which again, to reiterate the difference, Bitcoin came into this world with its monetary policy known, totally different from what we see today with our monetary policy, fractional reserve banking, where the government can just print more money, just kind of add zeros, just type it in on a computer or through other means. And so it is just a totally different system than what came into existence, which is why I didn't start with the introduction of Bitcoin solved the Byzantine generals problem, because that doesn't really tell us a whole much about the gravity of what problem it came in to solve. The fact that it has created this decentralized way to transact with just a drastically different monetary policy, and also in a way that is protecting your privacy as our world just gets increasingly more digital, and your permission to choose what you share with the world. Okay, so our final segment of interesting facts. Obviously, we know that tomorrow, in 2008, the Bitcoin white paper was published, and also on this day in 1517, Martin Luther published the 95 Theses, which sparked the Protestant Reformation. Are we familiar with this from like history class and the printing press and the Gutenberg Bible and that, or is this a new? Okay, so I'll keep going through these dates and then we'll kind of put it in the grand scheme of things. So January 3rd, 2009, where we saw that the Times chancellor on brink of bailout, when that was the first Bitcoin block was mined. Also on this day in 1521, basically Martin Luther was excommunicated from the Catholic Church, like kicked out. So that one's a stretch. I just thought it was interesting they were the same dates. And then, as mentioned, it will take 131 years for all Bitcoin to be mined, and the Protestant Reformation lasted 131 years. And what the Protestant Reformation was a separation of church and state, just as Bitcoin today offers the separation of money and state. Martin Luther really wanted to kind of end the hegemony of the Catholic Church, just their complete control and dominance over everything. And what Bitcoin offers is similar to, as well, ending this idea of the dollar hegemony, but also kind of let the free market play out. Really, then if we agree that money is at the base layer of society, then we also see kind of better a chance to have better food, healthcare, architecture, just where the free market can work and where we have a world of value restored. Okay, trivia time. So this is where you all will get to actually engage, and we are going to answer trivia over the Lightning Network. So if everyone could please go to Coinos, COINOS.io. And I'm going to do this with you. And people on Zoom, you all can do this as well. Let me know if you have any questions. COINOS.io. And then you are going to either press start in seconds or sign in. And you're going to make a username and a password. And let me know if you have any troubles with that. Well, I'm gonna send you some. But that's amazing too. Love that you all can send each other. We'll walk through how to do this, but if you could please go to bitcorn.io, bitcorn.io/CBTC. And then it's okay if we need to do this a couple of times to make sure we all know what we're doing. But what you are going to do, do you all have that open? Okay, so sorry to have us switch back and forth, but I just wanted to make sure you had that open. So now please go to Coinos. So that's where that's the website I just sent you the sats on. And what you are going to do is and I will do this with you, so I tell you exactly the correct steps, but you're going to press send. Okay, now where it says enter an address, invoice, or username, you're going to type in cbtc@bitcoin.io. Then press next. And you're going to just use, you can leave it just at 1 sat. And then in the message, you're going to type your answer. How many halvings will there be? And also, in your message, write your name because it's not quite yet. I think it's all going to come up as anonymous. So write your name or like your initials and your answer. How are we feeling with this? Matthew, no, I'll help you. What's the matter? No, let's get this to work. What's wrong?
It's almost there, yeah.
Okay, so go back. Now, press send. Enter cbtc@bitcoin.io. So you want to be on
Oh, okay, so I'm on the wrong. Got it.
Did it work for you?
Well, I'm a little confused.
Yeah.
I was on the Bitcoin thing and then do I go back to this?
Oh, yeah, so let's
Open it.
sign
Okay,
in.
that I'm missing that.
Okay, now send, yeah. And then enter cbtc@bitcoin.io. Is it working for you? Oh, amazing. Okay, so now someone enter an answer now.
Oh.
I was starting it first.
Okay, good. Ben, how's it working for you?
Like that, you see how many carvings are left or?
Just in total. Sal, you want help?
So Ben's right now, my apologies, we're embarrassed. So it's one us.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you just want to answer the question.
Yes, I just want you to answer the question.
Okay. And take a look at that. What if we don't know the answer? Did we go over this in the slides?
We did go over it, but that's okay. Just enter whatever you think. This is really more just, we're just testing this out. We're just practicing.
You pressing with numbers or the message?
In the message. So the numbers that you see, that is how many sats you're sending, but just send 1 sat. And then in the message, type your answer. And if you don't mind also writing your name so we can like make sure we can find a winner because we have a prize. It is a gimme gift card. So the person who gets the most correct. Okay, so whoever just sent that, that's super, but I don't know who you are. Oh, that's Jennifer. Oh, Ruby. Okay. Okay, you know what? So let's see. I just sent in 1, 2. Okay. So okay, this is perfect. This is gonna be our this will be our trial round. Okay, let's go to, do we feel comfortable with how to do this? So that now we can all, for the next one. Okay. When is Satoshi's birthday? And if we wanted to, in the interest of time, oh yeah, Brian, you got, oh, that's amazing that Brian, it would show up your name. How did you,
Username?
Yeah.
And then colon, and then your message.
oh, genius. Okay. Wait, username, colon, then your message. In the,
It says that you're like format your message as username, colon, and then your message.
oh, I didn't even read that. Perfect.
That's why I like test.
Oh, okay. Super. Yes, however we want to put that in. Okay, awesome. We're getting this. So in the interest of time though, how about I reveal the questions and then we don't send it in right away? Like we'll go through a couple questions and then we'll compare. Does that sound okay? Okay. So, let's do like, I don't know, Well, actually, maybe we can, let's do like 5 questions. How many pages is the white paper?
If you like it.
No.
You said we're not signing it, right?
Yeah. Oh, Malcrite, please don't send yet. We're gonna kind of batch some of these so it's a little bit quicker. Okay, so how many pages is the white paper? Okay, next question. How many times is the word Bitcoin mentioned in the white paper? Okay. What day was the first block mined? Oh shoot, I'm showing the answers. Am I going too fast or are we okay for the next one? What were the cypherpunks protecting?
Hey, y'all, is that D++ live?
Oh yeah.
It's huge.
Oh yeah, there's D++. Hi D. So yes, I should. So D++ is just incredible. She's an extraordinary educator. She has built this Bitcoin chat room. She has also built an incredible many other games. And let me just pull it up so I can show you. It's entropy.page slash POW, I believe. So you can see all of Dee's work on here. And Maggie is going to lead us in some of these games in the coming weeks. Okay, so next question. What is Executive Order 6102?
Did it send? Or-
Um, Let's actually, do you all, I think it's probably more efficient if we just go through some of these questions and then we'll send and compare. Okay, how much Bitcoin is left to be mined? Okay, and then last question for this one, how many citations are in the white paper? And then go ahead and send once you have entered this, and then we'll doing these in batches will probably help us tell the difference a little bit better. Ruby, you're pretty close. Yeah, Brian, I think is winning at the moment. Um, yeah, Malka, you're right too, but I think you're missing a couple questions. Or maybe not. Okay, next batch. True or false? Does mining, the word mining, appear in the white paper? And we'll batch these as well. Next question. How many words are in the white paper? Totally don't expect anyone to get this correct. But I'm just, so maybe for some context, it is shorter than the Magna Carta and the US Constitution. So I don't know if that's helpful context for anybody, but okay, next question. Did Satoshi Nakamoto write the code for Bitcoin first and then the white paper? Or did they write the white paper first and then the code? Which order do you think it came in?
Who's Jennifer on? Oh, Jennifer.
Jennifer.
Okay. That is-
Okay. What is the most common word in the white paper? What time was the white paper published? So we know it was published on October 31st, but what time was it published in Eastern time zone? I didn't mention this, but I think I think it's very guessable.
Early tenth.
Guessable. I mean, just think about a number that's all over Bitcoin, and then what would that look like in time? And then last question. Bitcoin always had a supply cap of 21 million. True or false? And then once you have them, go ahead and send it in. Okay, let's look at these answers. Oh my gosh, Brian, you are so good at this.
I don't know.
For
I don't know
this
about
one, for
that.
this one, for this one,
Sitting next to you next time.
so next week.
Um,
This one, maybe a little bit of Googling. This one, nothing.
Okay,
nothing.
all right. I'm high for you.
okay, so wait, hold on.
Matthew and I are women, so in spirit.
Okay, so let me go. There's actually some of you all. How about, okay,
Okay.
let's see. Can we do an honor system? I will go through the correct answers and then can everyone just make a tally of the one they got correct?
Sure.
Okay. Okay. So, first question, how many halvings will there be? 33. Satoshi's birthday, April 5th, 1975. How many pages? It's 9. 1 page for the citations. The word Bitcoin is mentioned 2 times. The first block was mined January 3rd, 2009. The cypherpunks were protecting privacy. Executive Order 6102 is basically when Roosevelt required all your gold be turned in. There's 3.125% of Bitcoin left to be mined at the end of kind of this epoch, sorry. There's 8 citations in the white paper. 3 of them are about timestamping. I believe it's 3. Mining does not ever appear in the white paper. False. There are 2,736 words in the white paper, which, Brian, that's why when I saw 2,500 to 7,500, I thought that was so good. Satoshi wrote the code, then the white paper. He felt that, or they felt that you needed to actually solve the problem and then write the paper for it. The most common word in the white paper is block. I believe it's 48 times that it's in there. Let me check. Yeah, 48 times. The white paper was published at 2:10 p.m. Eastern time. And then false. There was a bug that Bitcoin Improvement Proposal fixed so that the 21 million supply cap would be enacted. And this is just like a little screenshot from Reddit, which Ashana Misra, the youngest Bitcoin core, kindly sent to me when I was confirming that this was in fact correct. So yes, basically something in the shift operation in C++. So there was not initially even though it was programmed to be 21 million, I believe it was after like 64 halvings, it would have reset the supply. So that was fixed. And this is really important because some people talk about how the biggest threat to Bitcoin is kind of younger generations coming in, newer participants not understanding the importance of the different values that Bitcoin really upholds and stands for. And so, like for instance, digital scarcity is so important. The fact that it's capped at 21 million. And so I wanted to just also include some others in here for your reference, which we have talked about quite a lot over last semester and this semester. But okay, so who had the most correct? What was everyone's tally for correct answer? Brian had 11. Okay, Jennifer?
Are we counting by 2,500? Cause it's a race.
Yeah, we're counting that. That's fine, because that's close, I think.
Yeah.
What did, like, I'd count other people, yeah. Did you put just 2,500? I mean, it's pretty close. Sure, we'll count that.
Like,
Oh my gosh, that's so smart. Jennifer, how many did you have? 5? Ashley, how many did you? 8. Okay, we gotta be,
Kinda cheated. I put like 2 or 3 of them.
okay, so we're gonna drop you down to 8 then.
Yes.
Okay, Matthew, how many correct answers did you have?
9 for what I counted.
9.
Kind of.
Oh, okay. Ben?
3.
3, that's okay. Let's see. I don't know how many, I don't think Mount Crane answered them all. Okay, so, looks like Sal and Matthew are going to have coffee together because you all won. So here
I hope we
is
saw
your
it.
prize.
No, that was, I hope it, that's for you. No, that's good.
So, or maybe Matthew and Brian are gonna have coffee together.
I'll link to all the work.
Okay, how about we can all get coffee together.
Next, this Friday,
Yeah,
next minors meeting, you could just use that.
Boom,
to get
there we
coffee.
go.
okay, love it.
Boom.
I'll up the card. So we can no one has to get like half a coffee. Okay, yay. So that's like really cool. We just played trivia over the Lightning Network thanks to D++.
Thank
So
you,
that
D++.
that was really fun. Amazing. And that brings us to the end of our white paper celebration. So thank you, everybody. And please take food. There's lots of food left.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody on Zoom as well.